Hey guys, it's Mel. I'm here with Sam. As you can see, Sam. If you are watching, we'd love for you to join in our conversation because this is the first time that I have been able to millennial about divorce. And fortunately for Billy, he is happily married and we love Megan and we want them to be together forever. But unlike them, I have been divorced 4 years ago, and Sam and I had been, we've been friends for a while and known each other, and she knew me through the divorce, but she had posted on Facebook, and we've come together on this journey. We haven't really discussed it, so I thought, why not come on and with your green juice? And we are going to yell a little bit about this because of the stigmas of divorce, a lot of the failures that we might feel, and we want to let everyone know that it's okay. There are so many people out there right now that I know who are going through the same thing, maybe afraid to talk about it, maybe having a difficult time or in a point in their life where it might be coming soon, and we'd love to just share our journeys and our stories, and know that it's okay. And every marriage is different, and every divorce is different. And let me introduce Sam and tell us a little bit about what's going on in your journey.
Hey guys, I am Sam. Like Melissa said, I've known her for a few years. We actually met through a mutual friend who actually also went through divorce. So
Right.
It's been an interesting journey. Actually, I think I first met you, Melissa, years ago when you had your shop in Linglestown.
Yeah.
And so I came in, and that's how we met. And recently I had a post on Facebook, and Melissa and I have been friends and followed each other. And it was just about my journey. So I was actually married for about 9 years. It was a great marriage. It was just one of those things where we grew apart, and over time, as we both grew up, our priorities changed. What we both wanted changed. One thing that I realized as I got older is I definitely was looking to eventually have a family, and so we grew apart, and we mutually just said, "Hey, listen, I think we need to part ways." And it was something I never thought I would be in this situation. I was raised by two loving parents who've been married for many, many years. My family, there's hardly anyone that's been divorced. So it was hard. It was a hard transition to go into. And I think the big thing for me was telling people at first. I felt almost as if I was a failure.
Telling your you think you're saying like even just confronting like the family and friends, not like the public. You just mean like that initial, right?
Correct. I mean, honestly, telling my parents that I was getting divorced I'll never forget that day, because I felt like,
Me neither.
The worst thing. But once I got it out there, I mean, your family loves you and they're supportive. And I honestly could not have got through the past year. My divorce was actually finalized in March, so it's recent. I couldn't have got through that without having the support of my family and my close friends. But it was hard to say those words to people. But once it got out that, hey, I'm getting a divorce, it was okay, because I had a support group to get me through it.
Right. And you're making the steps to move on to that next chapter. I think you kind of had to do that acceptance, because we'll talk about that. I think you have to mourn a loss too. You have to go through that acceptance and that grief. And when I went to counseling, actually, after my divorce, it was, they said it's a death. You're going through a death. And you were married longer, together and longer than I was, but it was a total of 6 years. But I think with me, it was a little bit about, we were very different. And I think that we had some of the same interests, and we wanted to come together. And, I always said I was here and he was here, and we met in the middle, but, and I think that's very good in compromising. But I think that when it comes down to who you really are deep down, and your interests, and who you need to be, and the things that you know, to your core and all that, I think there's sometimes it's just too different. And like you said, it was about sort of growing apart or maybe some things that changed. I think with mine, it was just really taking more of the time to know if this was your person. And there's a lot of stigmas about age and pressures too.
Oh my God.
You know, what age were you when you got, you know, married and engaged, and how was that whole pressure to?
Yeah. I think I was around 24 when I got engaged. And then I think I was 25, 26 when I got married. And I just felt like that was, so I grew up.
What everyone was doing.
Yeah, it's what everyone was doing. And I grew up in a very country, about 45 minutes north of here. And that's what you did. You got married, you had babies. And I followed along.
Yeah. And when I lived in Philly in college, I was like, hey, I was 21 years old. I'm moving to Manhattan. I didn't even think about marriage and kids. And my typical idea of early, you know, 21, kids at 23 and 25, like my mom. And when I was in Philly, it was like another world. It was work, and I was hanging out with 30 and 40-year-olds who were single. And then when I moved back to Harrisburg, things slowed down a little bit. And I think that that's what everyone was doing. And, you know, I think that that now going through it, you want to tell people, like, just take some time, make sure you know this person and know who you are. I think too, I grew a lot, and I've, you know, whether it's, you know, you don't want to say it was an immature relationship. I just was, you know, wasn't at the mature state maybe that I would have recognized those things from the beginning. You know, did you think that you saw some things at the beginning at all, or in a sense?
You know, I didn't. And honestly, when I look back over, you know, we were together for, I think, around 14 years. When I look back at that, it was great. It was a great 14 years. It's just we grew apart, you know, our priorities changed, and that's okay. It was hard to kind of take that, because marriage is extremely hard work. And trust me, you know, I think you would say it too, like, I tried and I put in the effort, but at the end of the day, I felt like there was something pulling me to say, there's more, like there's something more. And so once I was able to say those words to people, to say, hey, I'm getting a divorce, then it was okay. It was, there was going to be more life after this. And I mean, I'm a testament, and I know you are too, that we can say, I am the happiest I've ever been. I feel like I know who I am now as a person.
Yeah. And I think that there's nothing wrong with realizing that something didn't work out, you know, with relationships. And the hard part for me was I felt that there were things that I had never experienced. And I thought that this was supposed to be this, because I was, you know, in a trusting, loving relationship. No one would do anything wrong and take care of me. And, you know, there's the things that you need, or you think you need. And I think that there's a lot else out there, and there's things that I didn't realize, but that it, you know, it's okay if a relationship doesn't work. And when I addressed it as, you know, it was very difficult, to the whole idea that I actually got married and now I'm getting divorced. And then after that came a lot of that, you know, I went through this whole process. But I, you know, yeah, I think that you said, did you have any, like the feelings of failure? Yeah. How did you feel, you know, or what did you do to, you know, when you felt certain things of that, or, you know, that it didn't work, that you were prioritizing yourself and saying, I still have you know, we still all have a life to live. We still all have that fulfillment that we want. And if something's not okay, then we, you know, it's okay to when things don't work, and when you try in that, but what did you do, I guess, to help that process? If it was like you said, you had a lot of support, right? I'm just thinking, what I did, reading and counseling, and what was that part of it?
So right away, I got, I actually had a counselor before, but I changed and I got a counselor. And that to me was huge. And I would encourage anybody that's going through that process, because you do have a lot of self-doubt. And I thoroughly believe in counseling, and
Me too.
the counselor was amazing through the whole process. Yeah. I will never forget, actually, quick story. When I went into my counselor's the first time, I was so nervous. I remember walking into the lobby and I'm like, oh my gosh, who's going to see me? Like, who am I going to run into that's going to know me? And I thought, right. Well, then you have to get out of your head thinking, well, if someone sees you there, they're there too. So,
right. And it's like, if it's a marriage and counsel, I mean, you could just be there for any reason, really, but.
And now I go in there like skipping, because I can't wait to meet with her, because it's just, right. I've grown so much from that process. Right. But a lot of books, I will tell you, I grew up in a very religious family, and I felt like through my marriage, I kind of grew away from that. So over the last year, that has changed greatly. I'm definitely more of a spiritual person, and a lot of reading. I mean, just as simple as I have an app on my phone. It's called Motivations, and every couple hours, a motivational quote comes through. And it's just like a pause in the day to say, okay, listen, life is going to be okay. I started doing some meditation, and honestly, the big thing is just surrounding yourself with people that support you. That's my opinion.
Right. It sounds like too that you did a lot. I know what I did was I tried to self-reflect too. So I wanted to know, what was it? What did I, not necessarily what did you do wrong? It's not necessarily that you do anything wrong. I mean, there's divorces that are because of infidelity, cheating, lying, finances, stealing, drugs, alcohol. I mean, trust me. I mean, I think we are, when we say fortunate in a sense to not have been in a bad divorce, a bad relationship, and a bad breakup. I mean, it was more of a breakup. It was, there was a mediation, and it kind of, you go your ways. And unfortunately, it's not always like that, especially when there's children that, we don't have. So, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to know more about myself. I wanted to know why I felt this way, why I did this. And I did a lot of reading. I actually had gotten some books from a friend of mine that's probably about 20 years older than I, but she was divorced, and she had helped friends and done counseling, and it was called Crazy Time. And it was actually the process from when you mentally say to yourself, I am not okay, something is wrong, and I am feeling that this is not, going to end well, it's kind of that mental check. And then when you talk to somebody else, when you have to address it with your spouse, and then moving on, and it goes through the whole process of grieving and all this. And I read this book while I was going through it, almost like when I got separated, and I read another book, which is like the Venus and Mars books. Men are from, the men are from Mars, or women are from Venus. And it was, Mars and Venus starting over, and it's the same author, and it's just literally about, and you should look these up, honestly. Yeah. I mean, they're incredible. It changed my life. I have told people who have gone through divorce, or who are thinking about it, to read these books. It gives such a perspective that you're not alone. And that's what we're here to do today, right? I mean, but these books, and obviously I love the 5 love languages, because I think that that's a huge factor in relationships, guys and girls. But I read those books, and when I went into my counselor, she said, you are very more far along than most people that come in. Now, again, I was only married for 2 years, and while we were together for 4, and it was a 6-year relationship, but it's like, yes, I do also think that I wanted to know how to do better. I wanted to know why marriages fail, what happened, and that's what I did too. That helped.
Yeah, a lot of self-reflection for sure. makes a huge, huge difference. And like
Yeah.
you did mention about how your counselor said, you know, it's like a death, and it is. But I've had people say to me
Greg,
too,
thanks.
hey, it's worse than
Greg's watching.
it's worse than a death because that person's still around too. So
Right.
it's just a whole transition and dealing with even like your friend group. Because
Oh, the friend group is big.
yeah,
Unfortunately, and I mean, well, look, we're being open here, and people know who who's who when we talk about our ex-husbands and our friends and stuff. But unfortunately, that was very hard. I
mhm,
lost friends of 6 years
mhm.
and family, and
Yeah, that's hard. It's a hard transition to go through. But you also have to know that to completely heal and grow, you do need to have some of that separation.
well, and look at where I'm at now. I have been through a lot since then, the goods and the bad since, but I'm in it's a great spot that you're creating a new relationship, and there's those friends and those family and all that too. So, you kind of think you blink, and it's been, I just texted you. I can't believe it's kind of been 4 years,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're going to do the same thing. And I think that what I've really appreciated about you and your posts and some of the things that we briefly talked on was about really taking care of yourself
Yeah.
and loving yourself. And, obviously I think we all know that we can't really love someone else until we really love ourselves. And not that I always love myself, I did love myself, but that there are situations in my life, my business, my finances, things that I wasn't being honest maybe with myself, or I wasn't in the place that I wanted to be. And how can you really sort of be that for somebody else when, you have those struggles too. And I think I've learned a lot about that too.
I think just having people you need to have those people in your life that will, they're going to support you, but they're also going to call you out a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm going to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, almost a year ago, I was out with some high school girlfriends who we try to get together. We don't see each other because we all kind of separated ways. And my one girlfriend says to me, Sam, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm living life. And she said to me right away, out of all of our friends, I always thought you would be the first one that would have children and a family and settling down. And I've heard that comment from people so many times over those 9 years, so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that one time that it like really clicked, and it made me self-reflect and say, I don't know if I'm on the journey that I want to go on.
Mm-hmm.
But that quickly, I realized in my head and in my heart that it was time for a change. And I think the hardest step is to acknowledge that something isn't what you want, and you need
Right.
to make an active step to move forward. And it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, after I have done that, right, after I have made some major changes in my life, even in personal and professional, but you start to realize that you don't want to just float through life. We're going to blink. That's what I said. I mean, I don't want to blink and hopefully I'll be 90, but, and just look back and say, did I live to the fullest? Was I fulfilled? And it's not just with the partner and that person, and it's just every aspect, and being lifted up and really feeling like I lived. And I didn't have that feeling. And that's what started with me too. Like you said, it's really questioning, and it's okay. Like you said, I think you have to address it. And there's definitely situations that can be fixed and can be worked on and can be, there's definitely things that people go through, and there's ups and downs. There's definitely so many things. And then there's sometimes it's just the difference between the people. And like you said, you grow apart, or some things just aren't there that, deep down to your core, and your values and what you want and what you need aren't there. And I think you have to really be true to yourself and say, you know, go with your gut sometimes too. We always, I go with my gut so much more.
Your gut definitely will not lead you astray, and just doing what's in your heart. So much, I feel like so many times in my past, I would think a lot more with my brain than I would my heart. And I've done reflections to say, really, is that what I wanted and where I wanted to go? But it's just making those steps and moving forward, and surrounding yourself by people who will lift each other up. I mean, you're one of those people in my life that, you know, women supporting women, whoever it is, men supporting men, everyone just supporting each other, and everyone has a journey. Honestly, anybody who says to me, I've been through a divorce, I always say, you know, I have the most respect for you. It's not an easy process. I'm not here to judge. If you want to share your story, I would love to hear it, because we all are on a journey, and it's just trying to figure it out and be happy and love life.
Right. And I think that there used to be this, oh, you're divorced. She's divorced, or oh, what's wrong? You know, and all these things. And I think nowadays, though, you know, I don't think it's the same. And I hope that a lot of the people that I talk to, I can share that it's the next chapter and the road that's the important thing. You know, yes, you're going to go through the feelings like we did of failure. And sure, I mean, there was a lot of emotion, even though it wasn't the harsh, you know, parts of divorce. It was hard, and it's still divorce. And you're right. It's the family. It's the realization of starting over, And there's
it's scary, because you think, I think we're the same, where we want to plan, but that's the beauty of life. You have no idea. And guess what? It is a beautiful journey. And
and I think that there's some things that I thought about too, even looking back. You know, my parents got divorced when I was very little. I was a baby, so I wouldn't have remembered it. I would have remembered the aftermath for years to, you know, of seeing my dad on, you know, on the weekends and all these things. And I think that did affect me. But a lot of millennials are saying, a lot of people that are our age, or you know, it all depends, because millennials range in obviously age. You know, it's like 81 to 96. So there's a big range there when you think about it. But that there's some situations where people see their parents and they see what they're doing. And a lot of our parents got divorced, and not everyone, but, you know, a lot. And that where you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. I don't want that to be me. Right. But then there's a lot of people that are in these situations, and they end up doing the same path. You know, I mean, it's funny. I saw, I'll share a meme about it actually, maybe this Friday when we do our real podcast. But I think that there's people that are our age now that are actually waiting a little longer and trying to do things with their career and their finances. So, and it might be ones younger than us. I feel like I was in that same group with you, but I think that, you know, I hope that there is a trend of people who are definitely waiting till they feel like they're at the place in their lives where they know who they really are too. You know, and look, you see people married for 20, 30 years and they have kids, and it doesn't work out, you know. It's just life. But I think we're here to say it's okay to start that over again, you know, and have that control, you know, take the control of your life and have that independence. But I think that, you know, there are things I feel like you said about, that's what you do. That's what people from where you were from, or your friends, or your family. And we have to try to get away. I think, you know, obviously the next time, like, what would you give advice, you know, in a sense, like, what would you give I wouldn't say your old self, because I think, you know, you knew a lot at that point, but what advice would you say maybe to somebody in that age? And then what kind of advice that we can give to people? I guess I shouldn't say it before marriage. I guess I would say in a sense of, Yeah. What would you say? What would you change, or would you do anything different, or would you say anything, or no?
I definitely would say don't rush marriage. I mean, I was engaged for a while, but at the same point in time, again, it was just that was the thing to do. So if you feel in your heart that, oh, something might be off, just keep growing and exploring that. I think that there were a lot of thoughts I had in my head and my heart for many years, and I was too afraid to say them. I was too afraid because if I would say those words, then it would come true. But it was that fear piece, that fear of like, oh gosh, if I say this, like if I say like, oh, I don't know if I really want to be with this person the rest of my life. It was just getting it out there. But once I started to say things and get it out there, it made a world of a difference. Honestly, looking back, I didn't realize how I'm a very, you know this, Melissa, I'm a very upbeat person, happy all the time. But from going through this journey, I felt like I've taken it to the next level. I am very happy because I'm at peace. And I would encourage anyone that marriage is hard, so definitely work on it. But if it's one of those things where you're definitely not happy, it's okay. It's okay to be in the situation we're in, and it's okay. Reach out to friends, reach out to people. I mean, I will always welcome any conversation and be supportive for anyone that's going through a journey like this.
Yeah, and I you know, same thing. I mean, I think that we all know people that, you know, everyone's relationship struggles, everyone has ups and downs, but I think that you have to question, is this, you know, is this acceptable for me and what I want for the rest of my life? And I think that people need to face the realities, and it's hard, but I think that there's so much going on. We have, you know, social media and, you know, things that are distracting us in a sense from our real, like the reality and communicating and doing face to face. I think that there's so much communication that's lacking. And I've seen in as I get older and where I'm at right now, like I hold myself to a higher standard. I had no problem creating boundaries. I have no problem expressing. Like I don't feel that I'm being bitchy or needy or, you know, anything. And I just say, look, like, you know what, I'm not okay with this. This isn't, you know, I'm very willing. I'm all about compromise and understanding and patience, which I wasn't before. You know, I've learned to get into a better place, but I also feel like I don't want to put aside what I really deep down feel like. Did you create some type of feelings inside that you're not going to, and I don't use the word settle, but I think that you're not going to let something happen where you don't do your own, give yourself your, you know, what do I ever say? I'm silly fun. I haven't had wine in yet.
More wine. Like,
yeah. No, I haven't had any yet. That's probably why I need
some more.
I need some because I'm so confused.
I definitely
relax me.
Yeah, there you go. It's just been such a journey, and you doubt yourself, but then you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to be okay. So it's funny. I have used Apple Music, and I was looking at recently my playlist that I've been listening to. I have a hummingbird that's visiting.
Oh, I could actually hear some wind chimes there too. It's so nice.
Sorry.
So nice.
And it's funny, through the last year, the playlist that's changed through my moods. Like at one point in time, right after I separated, I was listening to Lizzo all the time. I was like, I'm going to rock it. I'm going to get live. And your moods change because you're going through this journey.
Oh yeah.
But it's amazing. No matter what, I wouldn't have changed, especially even the last year, because I've learned who I am and I respect myself so much more.
Right.
You feel like you respect yourself even more.
Yeah, that's where that's 100%. I think that I've done things and said things, and you know, obviously there's a relationship in between my divorce where I'm at right now, and that's taught me a lot too. But it was a lot about self-respect, and it was a lot about just, like I said, setting some boundaries and setting some standards and some things that I never would have done if I hadn't gone through that experience. So honestly, as much as I say to people that I meet that are divorced, when you say, hey, I respect you, the courage that it takes, honestly, I didn't realize the courage that it even takes to make that step and say, there's so many people that are in situations that really need to talk about it and they don't, and it takes a lot of courage and bravery, like you said, to do that. And I think that there's so much that I've said that I've learned and grown that I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And if I hadn't gone through these things, and it's unfortunate to say that the struggle that we had to go through, but I think it's all in all, it makes us better for ourselves and for our next partner and even friends and support and outlook on life. It definitely changes things. For sure. But I have to be honest, I agree with you 100% about who you were. We both are very upbeat people. We know, everyone that knows us knows that I'm always dancing, and I definitely, have a way about some of the things that I like to talk, and I'm loud or this, whatever. I have to tell you that I never have been more of myself, and I didn't even know who this is today. And it was started about a year ago, let's just say a year and a half, I don't know. But I would tell people I finally feel like I'm who I am and who I want to be because I'm comfortable with it. And I'm not necessarily that I was put down or not able to be who I was, but I think that there were a lot of things that sort of held that back. And it could have been me, it could have been me and myself. But where I'm at now, I just feel that, like you said, like I've got so much more of that, and I having a great time, and I think my outlook has changed so much, and I'm surrounding myself, and I hope to continue with people that just let me be who I want to be. But I didn't know that this was here until I got to this place.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And you shouldn't doubt yourself, but we did.
Right.
But this journey has created us to learn who we are.
Right.
And so as much as there's been ups and downs, it's beautiful. And that's how I look at it. One of my closest friends, I actually call her an aunt. She would say to me through this journey, she would say she's a coworker. She would say every morning to me, the windshield on your car, it's huge because your future's in front of you. That rear view mirror is so small for a reason. Don't be looking backwards, only be looking forwards. And every day I'm like, okay, looking forward, gonna keep moving forward. And it's just so true.
I love it. Yeah. Well, and I think that when you have that outlook that, there's so much opportunity, and there's so much ahead of us that you're right. I think I love that saying. I'm gonna share that.
There you go.
I'm gonna share that on Friday when Billy always says, Melissa, how's your week? What's going on? Tell me something. I'm gonna use that.
There you go.
I love it. I love motivational quotes too. I actually put some up. I created this great workspace, and I'll tell you too, because I think they're great, because it has to do with a lot of things that we've all gone through. But one over here, it says, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And I can't see the quote, but then this one is, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. And that's Henry Ford, because I can read that quote under the name. But it's true. I like to see some of the things that I know I'm going through. And yeah, I mean, you think, if there's people out there that are watching this, or that will watch it, or that, might share it with somebody that is in, a spot, I think what can you tell them? You touched a little bit, but what would you say, obviously, to take some steps to face this reality that we did?
I think one of the first things that helped me was journaling. So like I said, I had a lot of thoughts in my head, in my heart, that I didn't express. And I started to journal and would just write. And I feel like any situation you're at, any kind of stressful situation, when I'm very stressed, no matter personal, professional, whatever it is, if I journal, I feel like a better person. Like I just feel like I get it out there. When I started journaling about where I was and looking at goals that I wanted in my life, that's when it became real. So journaling, just talk to people. You know, have a good support. You know, if you have like a best friend that you can talk to openly, that's huge. And all I hope is, I wish everyone would be their authentic self and live their lives to the fullest. So if you feel like that's not what you're doing and you feel like, gosh, you know, I've just kind of been on this, just going through life, make a change. You can make a change anytime.
Well, and I think that here's, you know, while we can't attest to a bad marriage or a bad divorce or a toxic, you know, very, very toxic, relationship wise, but I also think that, you know, there's a lot of people who might be afraid to face it, afraid to bring it up. There might be, you know, abuse, you know, there might be a situation where it is abuse or things that people are afraid, but I think that there's so many people that have done it and that it will happen. It can happen. There's a lot of ways, even if you think I can't do this, or this will never happen, or I won't get this, or I'll be treated, you know, whatever those, it's all fear. It's all fear. It's because of either something that's put there, or it's because of just the unknown, like we said. But like you said, man, after, once you get to that conversation, and that Crazy Time book is a really good test to this, that it tells you, here's what happens after this step, after this step. And wow, this is exactly what happened to me. You know, this is exactly how I feel. It's really interesting. And there's so many books that I read too. Not so many, I read 3, but in those books, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like to read, but when it comes to something that's self-help and something that I think is going to help me and change me and I'm going to learn, I'm all about it. And with those, it was just realizing all of these stories were very similar to mine and that I wasn't alone. And I think that that's really key for us to share, that we're here and we're yelling about something that it happens a lot more. And if you know, I think that we gave some great, great topics, and I think we should schedule another one in a couple weeks to talk about dating after divorce.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, your face. Oh, we could go on. Let's do a long one. Hey, Billy. Billy just said, "What's up, friends?" Hey, guys.
Hey.
But yeah, Billy, we're just talking about maybe doing a dating after divorce sequel to our yelling here, but I think that would be fun.
I think it would be too. You can't make some of this up. You can't make it up.
I am excited. We should do it now. I'm kidding. But everybody stay tuned. We are gonna you're gonna love this one. But yeah, I think hearing a little bit about your journey, and I think maybe we could do some more of these in just different aspects. And I really appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk about this, and it's hard. You know, I think it's hard to even address it. And you gave me the encouragement and inspired me to feel that you and I could have this real conversation, and people are going to listen, people are going to watch. And, it's, I thank you for doing this with me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey too. I mean, I know that I knew it in a little degree, but it's created more conversations, and I just think it brings awareness.
Look at Billy. Thanks. Hey, hey, Billy, I'm getting used to the little buttons on the side here. So I had some issues. I totally forgot to put up our intros. Anyone that watched one of the episodes, I forgot to put up the intro. I forgot to put up our names. I forgot to put up stuff. And I said, Billy, don't let me have the control anymore. So now that I have to do it, I'm forced to do it. But yeah, I think we should totally schedule it. Let's wine again. Why not? And let's get you on. We'll schedule it, and we'll talk about some more divorce stories here, but a little bit about dating after.
There'll be a lot of humor.
Yes. It'll go, I don't think this is too depressing, but I think we'll be, we'll be adding some great stuff. So, oh, he said, you're learning. Thanks, Billy. So, all right. Well, thanks for millennialing with us. And we will have this on all of our Podbean and Spotify and iTunes and YouTube and Facebook, and make sure that everyone likes our page and stays tuned for some really great stuff that we have coming. And Billy and I will be live on Friday, as always, with our weekly podcasts. And Sam and I will be back soon.
Can't wait.
Good? All right. Bye, guys.